Back here on PigPod, as we are so excited for another edition, as we have President and General Manager Kurt Landis with me, Mike Ventola, of course, Manager of Media Relations. Kurt, always a pleasure getting a chance to talk with you. First time here on this forum, and secondly, I know you've been a big proponent of the PigPod, so I guess my apologies in a sense of just having you on here for episode 11 here at this point.
You're fired.
I'm fired. I'm out. Nice knowing you guys. See you later. So, but no, thanks for stopping on with us.
Glad to be here.
Yep.
Anytime I can come on and make fun of you a little bit and talk baseball, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, certainly glad to have you on. And, you know, I wanted to wear this Bacon USA road uniform because, one, it matches my gray shirt I have underneath. But secondly, these road uniforms, of course, which will be displayed this season that the team will be wearing, one of the many new looks that'll be coming to Coca-Cola Park here in 2023. So before we get into some of the big stuff that I wanted to ask you regarding the construction, if you don't mind, give folks a little bit of a background. I know Matthew, Barry, and myself been kind of telling everybody what's been going on, but for you, as we come to the end of January, now into the early portion of February, opening day is getting closer. So for you, what are certain things you're looking to get checked off your to-do list before opening day?
Well, it's a long list.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think everything in the offseason moves up further and further each year. We've talked about that. Mm-hmm. So the planning for promotions, the planning for giveaways, the planning for fan entertainment, that's really taking place now in July, August, September. And you're, at this stage, really working through the logistics in terms of making sure deliveries are on time. I think the sales process is important to us right now because even though we start that with renewals, both for sponsors and season tickets and mini plans as early as August or September. You know, it's a critical time for us to finish the sales process, to have a successful season in terms of overall tickets and revenue. But it's a very busy time operationally in the ballpark in terms of there's a lot of projects we have to do in the off season to make sure things run smooth in the season. If it's maintenance, repair, painting, things that our fans might not really understand, that things look great come April 4th and opening day. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes scurry, and so things start to get a little bit more urgent.
Yep.
You enter January, and then again in February, there's things like announcements of the promotion schedule, announcements of certain specific game promotions. There are a lot of things that we've worked on for a year and a half that are just on the cusp of announcements and things that we have to have our ducks in a row ready behind the scenes. So it becomes very busy, and you see a different level of activity in the office probably.
I always feel like that, you know, depending on the department, obviously 12 months a year, everybody's got something to do. But I feel like, you know, the off season, you know, I feel it for myself at times can be a lot harder than in season because it's your idea session. It's what can we do to improve year to year? I mean, obviously in season is very important. That's when the show is on, right? That's when those gates are open. It is a 3-hour show, give or take the length of a game each night. But you spend the entire off season to, you know, prepare for that show. Right. I guess for you, because you've been in minor league baseball now, this is what, your 30th season. So congratulations to you, 30 seasons now in minor league baseball. Folks, he's not a dinosaur. He's just in the prime of his life here. But you know, for you, do you always enjoy, you know, I guess obviously the in-season, I'm sure you enjoy more, but the aspects of the off-season, would you consider to be a little bit more difficult at times than the execution of the in-season?
I do, actually. But I enjoy both of them.
Yeah.
You know, I think that for 6 or 7 months of the off-season, you're making promises and working to improve, so it's a lot of newness.
Yep.
Even though it's year after year, there's some things that we do that are the same. You're trying to plan each year differently and uniquely. And then when you get to the season, it's more hours, but you fall into a little bit more of a routine, right, game to game. Even though it's a different theme or different groups or different highlight, you do fall a little bit of a routine in season. So I enjoy both of them, both making promises and fulfilling promises.
Right.
It's really nice to have a change year to year. And I tell people sometimes, there's still people out there that go, what do you do in the off season? There must,
right,
you know, must not have anything to do. And the reality is more the opposite. But if you ever planned a wedding before, and I know you're getting to that point
yep,
soon, there's a lot of work, and like, oh my gosh, yes, I had to do this, I had to do that, I had to have a, you know, bachelor party and the reception and all this work and uniform,
Right.
And I say, well, we plan 75 weddings a year, and each one is a different theme, and there's up to 10,000 guests, and we're the largest restaurant in the Lehigh Valley. And sometimes like, oh, yeah, I guess you have to provide food for 8,000 people in about a 2.5 hour time frame. And that world continual changes as well, not just about marketing, promotions, and tickets, but food and beverage and finance. And those are things that are take a lot of time and effort to do well.
Especially in your position too, as the general of this operation. I'm sure the blood pressure and the stress levels, they fluctuate up and down depending on the time of season. But as I said, you've been doing this now for 30 years, and you started as an associate many years ago, and then of course worked your way up to where you've been president and general manager since day one of the Lehigh Valley IronPigs. As you kind of now look to step into your 30th season of minor league baseball, what do you kind of think back to as maybe some of the cool and fun moments you've been able to experience throughout your career?
Well, you keep saying 30, and I get older and every time you mention that. I started when I was 5. There's been a lot of great moments, so I'm not prepped for that question at all. There's been some incredible memories with staff and fans. There's been some crazy ones, scary ones even. I think the ones you look back are the relationships you have with certain people, and sometimes those relationships you have with people that you work with for many years, and sometimes, I got to meet and share dinner with Willie Mays,
Yep.
and present him with a jersey and invite him to the place where his baseball journey began in Hagerstown when I was there. And I also look back favorably on a lot of the fun promotions that you've been a part of, and not just because of the fan reaction, but you plan and prepare, and there's a lot of work to go through things to make it viral, so as many people see your promotion as possible, or many people enjoy it or buy merchandise or want to be a part of it and think it's fun. If that's a free funeral giveaway,
Yep.
if that's a LV Lehigh Valley wants LeBron, in a billboard campaign, if it's responding to a PETA-based group about cheddar broccoli bites, putting that on the menu. There's been some great things. The video urinal games.
Oh, absolutely.
It's still in my mind one of the most fun. We introduced bacon,
Yes.
and Bacon USA, and we introduced a whole number of styles and caps and logos in 2014. And bacon was just this home run from the get-go. So how did we developed the Fighting Bacon and the Bacon USA concept, and there's been so many things promotionally that have been fun. And each year you look for a number of things that really catapult your imagination and to be on the front edge of technology and of ideas, and other teams emulate what you do. That's been something I'm probably most proud of.
And too, and I don't know if you want to share the story, but I still remember when you told me that when you were meeting with Mr. Montgomery, may he rest in peace, that you had an outstanding meeting with him when you were looking to be hired as the general manager of the IronPigs when this organization was first started. And you talk about those relationships, and not to make you blush here, but because of your role here, I look at the relationship between the IronPigs and the Phillies. You're the nucleus of it all. You know what I mean? Because you've been here since day one, and and obviously we got to see the forefront of that back in December. Obviously, with Mr. Dombrowski and Sam Fold being here, along with all the local politicians. With some of the stadium upgrades, and knowing that it's more than just business, it's very community and family feel. So I'm sure that all means a lot to you.
Well, I appreciate that. It's been a long relationship, a positive one, but our owners are a huge part of that. Joe Finley and Craig Stein have been involved in partners with the Phillies pre-Lehigh Valley IronPigs, even with the Lakewood Blue Claws, of course, the Reading Phillies. So a lot of those relationships are very, very long. So Dave Dombrowski or Sam Fold, who are very influential and impactful in terms of the relationship today, they recognize the historical value of Joe and Craig and the Lehigh Valley and the franchises nearby. It's Dave Montgomery, the story you referred to quickly, I'll tell it. So Dave Montgomery, the longtime president, long time, the grandfather, right, of the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yep.
I interviewed, I was basically told at one point, hey, Kurt, the job's yours, but we just need to have a formality to meet. Dave Montgomery wants to meet the person we hire for the organization, so just don't do anything horribly stupid. But we'll go, this should be like a 5 or 10 minute hello, and then we're going to go have lunch afterwards, talk about moving forward and whatnot. So go in and meet Dave Montgomery, and he ends up bringing in this large yellow writing pad with him, and we spent about a 2-hour interview. And it was myself and Dave, but it was also Richard Dietz, who was his right-hand man, Joe Finley, Craig Steiner, owners, Chuck Domino, who was the president at the time. And we spent about 2 hours of interview asking every question about the budget that I had prepared as part of my interview process. And Joe and Craig were about fit to be tired because everybody's hungry. and Dave had questions about every aspect of the operation. And I remember this day, just being really impressed that he was that interested and involved in understanding about the organization and my vision for it as a president for the Philadelphia Phillies. And that set the tone for relationship in a positive way. Like, he was always very supportive, understood what we were trying to do and accomplish.
And for myself, being in a familiar scenario, having worked in Reading, now worked in Lehigh Valley, and when you see the relationship the Phillies have with not just those two organizations, but you mentioned the Blue Claws, the Threshers, and the Phillies, you see are just top rate because of how much they care about the minor leagues. Not just from making sure their coaches and players and staff are taken care of in season, but even in the off season. I'm sure you have discussions, I'm sure, with the folks in Philadelphia, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, just, hey, what's going on? All is well. We're excited about the new season, but hey, make sure that obviously business is going afloat too. But segueing that into, of course, the outstanding news, of course, now that this new renovation project that's been taking place here at Coca-Cola Park, it's moving forward. The staff and the coaches and the players are going to have a great opportunity, of course, to really have the best clubhouse in not just minor league baseball, a lot of clubhouses compared to some of the major league teams. No disrespect to any major league organization, but also, too, and I'm sure maybe an opportunity for you, Kurt, to talk a little bit about that. It's more than just something for the Iron Pigs. Maybe is it a space for something in the off season? What are some of the aspects of this new renovation project that you're excited for fans and for your customers to get to know about here?
Well, first and foremost, it's largely a renovation and addition for the Philadelphia Phillies and our players. And we take a lot of pride in how we treat the fan experience and the fan amenities. And for 15 years, that's been a focus for us because it's critical to our business. And we've had a new ballpark. But over 15 years, it's amazing. There used to be a pitching coach, a hitting coach, one trainer, and a manager. And that was it, and 25 players. And over time, that's grown now to, we'll have as many as 15 support staff.
Yep.
Coaches, trainers, strength and conditioning, nutrition, everything, mental skills. And now we have 35 to 40 players. So us and the visiting teams that come in have really outgrown the space. Mm-hmm. So in order to do things correctly, to have a great partnership with the Phillies, and truthfully, as mandated by Major League Baseball, we had to make these spaces. Now, they're going to be impressive. So I'm always proud of things we do. When we do something, we do it well and first class. At least I like to think that. We've done that. And then the Phillies coming in and saying, hey, you're responsible for this, but we want to take what you're doing and make it even better. The things that we're doing now together are going to make this really as good of a clubhouse and probably better because of the newness of it than Philadelphia and a lot of major league organizations. But there are going to be opportunities to allow in the off season high school teams to use facilities, opportunities for us to do in areas downstairs to host events and activities and parties, because to see where the stars of tomorrow have played and the treatment rooms, the medical facilities, we can reuse those spaces for 6 months, so it's not just a 6-month activity.
Right. So, there'll be an area, of course, women now on staff, whether athletic trainers, strength coaches, you name it. So a kitchen as well, too. You mentioned about the medical aspect of things. That will look to grow as well. The clubhouse space is huge. So these players that are going to be in those that have their own locker, of course. They're going to have a lot of space to move around. And, I feel like every room, I know you took members of the press back in December through, I don't want to say the early stages. It feels like we're well beyond the early stages here. We're probably through the halfway point, if not the three-quarter point at this point. And you could, even though it's the drywall and things of that nature, just see how huge it is and how much you guys did an outstanding job in taking care of that excess space that was behind the stadium and utilizing it pinpoint perfect. So what do you, in addition to the things you highlighted and talked about, what are some other things that, I'm sure this season you may hear a casual fan, hey, Kurt, how can I see this clubhouse? What's, and you're like, and I know you wouldn't be able to open it up to everybody, but I'm sure people ask, hey, how can I go about seeing this?
Right. And I think our focus now is on finishing it and getting it ready. And it won't be a lot of time between the time it's done and ready before the team arrives from the spring training. Right. So probably for the first 6 months, it's not going to be, honestly, a lot of opportunity. But then come October,
right.
And then before the next season, we need to do Pig Day and allow tours of the clubhouses, or to allow our partners, sponsors, media. It's certainly a crown jewel, and this ballpark has always been a crown jewel for minor league baseball, not just because of attendance, but because of the facility, the volume of fan spaces and hospitality areas, the uniqueness of the facility, and to kind of put another jewel in that crown.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're going to see a lot of people coming in and say, how did you do this? Let me see this. There's always a lot of interest in our operation from the minor leagues because there's a lot of respect for what we do and how we've done it. And that's already happening again because we're on the forefront of making sure that we have these improvements done for Major League Baseball and the Philadelphia Phillies. But as far as the common fan, National Pig Day, I think next year will be a huge hit for that. But there's going to be opportunities just to even rent and utilize the facility because we do want people to see behind the scenes, behind the curtain. That's always been my mindset and our organization's mindset, that it's about total fan participation. And you want our fans to be able to see all aspects of the operation as best we can.
Because now you and and Joe and Craig and obviously partners, things of that nature, that we're able to get this all taken care of and making sure that it's ready for opening day. I'm sure a lot of your brother and sister general managers and presidents have reached out to you and say, hey, Kurt, we heard this news. Congratulations. Because obviously Major League Baseball is not just here at Coca-Cola Park. It's all 120 affiliated minor league teams across the country. Obviously without revealing too much, so more on a surface level. Have you been contacted by any of your brother and sister, president and GM, saying, hey, how'd you guys go about doing this? Or, would it be cool if one day we can maybe see this at all?
All the time.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of different groups within minor league baseball that of people you work with and you trust and you have relationships, and we learn from each other because you share. There's no worry about the competition isn't there.
Right.
It's on the field, not in the front office. So like, how are you doing this? How are you doing that? How do you approach this? And then logistically, how do you operate those areas? So how many clubbies do you have? How do you clean these facilities? What have you found to be the best path for A, B, or C? So there's a lot of, it's amazing how much work has been involved in a $10 million construction project in terms of coordinating, information technology, in terms of coordinating audio, video, in terms of coordinating security, in terms of coordinating all the little elements and the timing of each one goes in at the right time so that contractors are working around each other. It's been incredible to see that again for the first time in 15 years since we had that entire new ballpark experience taking place. But it's amazing because we worked hard from the get-go, from the time that we knew that we had to make improvements to the facility that were mandated. And we were ahead of the game. We did things well and smart. And then Major League Baseball, just within the last month, told teams, hey, we'll give you a year extension if you need it.
Oh, my goodness.
So that year extension, though, is a huge help for many, many teams
I'm sure of it.
that just weren't on top of their games, or maybe didn't have the community support like we've had the community support. But it's nerve-wracking because there's a lot of teams out there that don't have the same support. And Major League Baseball will move teams if they don't have the facilities ready to host these players, because there's a huge push to make sure these players have everything that they need or want so that they're prepared, for this. They're developed as well as they can be to step into major leagues.
But but the great news is, of course, we are here to stay, and that's been the beautiful thing, not only just Lehigh County, but Northampton County, all in the state of Pennsylvania, all in, it's been great to see how everyone rallied around to do what was necessary in the community as well, too, the fans at large, making sure that the Iron Pigs aren't going anywhere, of course, and, and obviously they're a great AAA partner with Philadelphia. So, Kurt, you have a lot to be proud of here. I tell people all the time, I've been, not to, like I said, make you blush here again, at least try not to, but I've been working in minor league baseball for 14 years as an intern and full time, and you're as good as it gets, my man. You from what I'm seeing to where you started back in 08, because I remember myself growing up in Easton and being a resident and coming to games here as a fan, and then, now getting the opportunity to have worked for you and learned from you. Don't change a thing. What you're doing has been outstanding.
Well, you're a good liar, but thank you. No, it's a pleasure to work with you, Mike. I appreciate all the time you've spent with us. And it's a pleasure to represent this organization in the community. It means a lot to a lot of different people. I talked about all things that mean a lot to me, and the memories and promotions. Yeah. But at the end, really the best ones, and I should have mentioned this before, are just the memories you make with fans, because you're able to give them an experience that they otherwise wouldn't have. If it's bringing a kid out to throw out a first pitch, or helping someone that maybe had, thanking a veteran, helping someone that might be terminally ill, to give them an experience, things that your job allows you to do that other jobs wouldn't, and that's the best part. Absolutely.
So, folks, for those watching on the YouTube version, I know, of course, folks have been, those who just choose to listen are on Spotify, but if you're watching on YouTube, seriously, the best in the business right here. He is literally blood, sweat, and tears, into this place, right? So,
what do you want from me? You're like.
I know. I'm actually out the door. I mean, but look, I'm like, me, I'm a pretty positive guy. At the end of the day, people say Kevin Whitehead makes fun of me all the time. He goes, "Everybody gets an invite to your wedding. I never say a bad word about anybody." So, but Kurt, thanks for stopping by. Thank you too for the breakdown of, obviously with the project. Regarding the clubhouse too, and also taking a little bit, to talk about your journey here in professional baseball, and of course your post here, and I'll be on the other side, but you definitely always have a fan here. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you, and go Pigs.